All right, Matt. So here we are. It's the podcast. This is our first one.
Yeah, this is exciting. Finally, after all this discussion, let's get it going.
So I'm coming at you from sunny Los Angeles. And Matt, where are you at?
I am in the apocalypse of Edmonton.
Oh no.
We are covered in smoke. British Columbia is on fire, and this morning I stepped out on my porch and the smoke was so thick, everything had this amber hue. It was the most surreal feeling. And then when I stood there, nothing moved. No animals, no neighbors. And I was kind of looking around going, hello?
It's a great
neighbors?
time to talk about technology though, right?
Yes, the technology apocalypse is upon us as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Google tracking us through the web. So I heard this week that even if you turn off your location history, they still track you.
Yeah, that's the big news that came out of Google this week. And, I always thought that if you turned off the setting that prevents the following your location, I always assumed that Google was not tracking me. But it turns out that's wrong.
Yeah, apparently, even if you turn it off on Google Maps, they can still tell where you're at with your weather updates and your browser searches, so you really can't get them off your back, right?
Yeah, actually, so I watched a video just the other day on how to really turn it off. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked and surprised at how many clicks, how deep you had to get down in there to actually turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't easy. It wasn't intuitive. The conspiracy theorists out there are making hay with this, and you know what? There may be something to it.
Well, I bet even if you went all the way down there and turned off all the clicks, they'd still be watching you somehow, right?
Well, that's what the conspiracy theorists are thinking. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this conspiracy as well. So,
take me there.
Chinese phones, HTC, Xiaomi. I know down in the States, that's one of the big reasons why Verizon and some of the other major carriers are being told they can't carry these phones.
Is it because of the tracking?
Well, that's the worry. It's could there be something embedded in their phones that could be spying on American citizens? Now,
right.
The other thing that we could go even deeper into that, Xiaomi, one of the major owners, is a former general in the Chinese army. I mean, there's all these conspiracy theories. And you know what? I usually don't listen to them, but now that I hear that Google has been tracking us all along, it's very possible.
That's pretty crazy to think about, but the reason why they track us, of course, is to make money, right? I mean, we're not paying for a lot of the services they give us, so
right.
It's kind of worth it in a way. My favorite name for a Chinese cell phone is Huawei. Have you tried the Huawei phones yet?
No, I haven't tried Huawei. OnePlus. I've been a big fan of OnePlus for about 3 years now. I started with the OnePlus 2. I bought my son the X. Actually, it's not called the X. Our listeners will probably correct me on which one that is, but it was the affordable one that came out about 3 years ago, and I really like the product. I think they give you a good bang for the buck, and that's why I've always been kind of hoping that there could be a shining star come out of China as far as cell phone affordability. And
so how does your son like the OnePlus? And which one does he have? Is it the OnePlus 2?
No, I have the OnePlus 2. He has the, I think it's called the OnePlus X.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
It is the OnePlus X that he has. And it's basically the cheaper model. And from what I understand is it was the OnePlus One's old chipset that they had left over, and then they just put it into a more budget-friendly phone. And it was perfect to buy a young teenager because it was affordable. It gave him an Android device that was dependable. And it was funny. He says most people didn't recognize his phone when he was in junior high walking down the hallways. But a few kids that were from India instantly recognized his OnePlus and just thought it was awesome.
I don't even think I've seen a OnePlus in California. I know they're out here, but I think in Canada you've got a better shot at it.
Yeah. I've loved my OnePlus. The feature I loved the most about it was the dual SIM.
Oh, yeah, that's nice because then you can use it for your company phone or at home, right?
Yeah, I hated feeling like Batman with two cell phones on my belt, right? It's like one for
Right.
work and one personal. This way, it was all just in one phone. And Android did a great job managing both SIMs. You could text from both SIMs. On the OnePlus 2, you could only pick which one to use data at that time. But I heard that the new phones you can actually use data on both your SIMs without having to switch.
Speaking of phones, I know the Hydrogen One's coming out. Have you heard anything about it, the red?
Yeah, so the red phone. This one's interesting. I watched some people online talking about it. They got to hold it in advance, and they're trying to raise some interesting buzz about it. It's supposed to be a three-dimensional screen, and one where you don't need glasses.
So is that kind of like the Nintendo 3DS?
I did hear one person who hadn't seen it, but he had talked to somebody who had seen it, and he kind of describes it like an expensive 3DS. Others, they recorded themselves and their expression when they saw it, and it was, I don't know if it was like feigned shock and awe. I can't imagine it's that exciting. I wasn't too impressed with the 3DS, even if it's a higher quality 3DS. I don't think
Yeah,
it's worth the money they're touting. But you know what I think is the neatest thing about this?
let's hear it.
I think it's going to be for independent filmmakers. People,
Oh,
yeah. So, do you know much about the company Red and their background?
well, I know that they're talking about maybe doing an 8K camera on as an attachment.
Yeah. So they make all kinds of video cameras. In fact, just about everything that Netflix is putting out right now is actually filmed on Red's cameras. And
Wow.
so the guy who is behind the Red phone, the owner of Red, he is actually looking for the perfect phone for him, not necessarily the perfect phone to make a gazillion dollars on the people around the world.
Right.
And so it's more going to be an ability to look at a 3D movie that he's filming in real time right there in front of him and be able to move the phone around and get all the 3D angles. And so I think that's really who this phone is for. I think it's going to be for independent filmmakers, people who just want to go out there and shoot a film in the backyard or in the park or down the street, not these multi-million dollar or hundreds of million of dollar budgets. I think it's going to be for the independent, for the universities, and more for perhaps a grassroots film industry. I think that's who's going to be looking at it.
Well, because it's going to be pretty pricey, right? Like I heard the more expensive one starts at $1,600, the titanium version.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So you could get like an iPhone X and a half, right? An iPhone 10.
Yeah, I sure hope that for that price it comes with some lenses that attach. I know it's modular, so you'll be able to attach lenses. I hope for 1,600 US dollars you get something with it.
Yeah, that's almost 2,000 Canadian right now.
Yes. Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I can tell you one kind of unique perspective. I'm an eye doctor, so a lot of times I'll spend my days with kids just trying to get them to see in 3D.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people have a really hard time because you have to see really good vision out of both eyes for it to pop out. So I wonder just how, if this will catch on, if a lot of people have a tricky time seeing the 3D pop out of the screen.
That's a great question. So I'm going to ask you another question. As a professional vision specialist, do you believe the hype that such a tiny screen could actually give you a good 3D image?
I'm not sure about the 3D image, but I can tell you that staring at a screen for a long period of time, especially if you're younger
Yeah.
in the development years, can actually lead to nearsightedness.
Oh,
So if you
no.
have kids, yeah, you need to be a little bit careful about that.
Okay, that begs the question, what about virtual reality? I mean, that screen is literally like an inch or less from your eyeball. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure. I haven't read any peer-reviewed studies about virtual reality, but I'd be interested. Speaking of which, the Magic Leap specs are out. Have you heard much about it?
Yeah, Magic Leap. It's been this really uh, leaked virtual or AR. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been talking about it for years, and they've been teasing images here, teasing images there, and so they actually came out just last week, and they've announced that they're going to sell it. um, it's only it's only a mere $295, or $2,295,
Right.
and then you could pay an additional $500, and you get something called the Professional Development Edition, which comes with an extra hub cable, and it's got some kind of a service called Rapid Replace. And it sounds like if you break something, they'll replace it within 24 hours. So,
Oh, that's pretty good.
yeah, is it worth $500? I don't know. And is it $500 a year? I don't know. They haven't told us much. Have you had a chance to check out any of the reviews that have been on the web?
Well, I know that it's been a work in progress for the last 8 years, and they've gotten their investors to give them $2.3 billion. So I'm hoping it's going to be pretty good. The reviews seem pretty mixed. Like you were saying, it seems geared towards developers, and I'd be interested to see how it compares with Microsoft's HoloLens. Have you tried that at a Microsoft store or
You
anywhere?
know what? I haven't. I haven't tried it, and it's definitely been something that's been fascinating me. I think for me, the most interesting thing about AR is the ability to use it in the workplace. I work
Mm-hmm.
in heavy industrial construction, and we're always looking at blueprints and drawings and trying to figure out how to put things together. And you often have to try to take two-dimensional drawings and then figure it out three-dimensionally in your head. And for some things,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier than others. And it would just be amazing to be able to, as the demos show, pull up three-dimensional sketches. You can use what we call in the industry BIM modeling, which is 3D modeling, where you can zoom in, zoom out, move around an object, look up and through. A lot of the projects I'm currently working on, that would be just perfect for being able to use it and do the applications that we're looking for. So I think that's the neatest thing.
Yeah, I'm excited about the games.
Yeah,
I don't know, did you get a chance to try Pokemon Go? Augmented reality was huge last year.
I
Did you
did.
take your kids out?
Actually, I did not take my kids out. I actually took myself out. I was wandering around Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I had some time on my hands. I was there for a business trip, and I just thought, hey, I'm going to give Pokemon Go a try. I saw a bunch of people almost wander into the street and get hit by cars, and I thought, that looks like fun. And
That's great.
to be honest with you, the AR was kind of neat to look through your phone and see a little Pokemon jumping in front of you and flick things at it, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
Well, here in Los Angeles, it's been a lot of fun. Last year, I remember I was at the beach. I was on Santa Monica Pier, and there was about 1,000 people there searching for the water Pokemon. And it was really eerie because everyone was on their phones, nobody was talking to each other, and you just looked everywhere, and the beach was covered with people. So I think there's a lot of uses for augmented reality, and I'm hoping that the HoloLens can kind of do that as well as this new Magic Leap.
That's really neat, how Pokemon Go brought everybody together. I know there's probably a few diehard fans that are still playing it today. There's one lady in my office who plays it regularly with a group of people. And I think what's neat about both Magic Leap and HoloLens is that it's portable. So, for
Really?
example, yeah, this Magic Leap, it comes with a visor, but it also comes with the way they're describing is like this puck that you can put inside your pocket. So it either clips onto your pocket, and they say it gets a little bit warm, but it's got an NVIDIA graphics chip in it, a Tegra X2 processor, 128 gigs of storage, and battery life for 3 hours.
That's amazing. But you could look a little weird walking around the streets of Los Angeles with a visor on, right?
Well, didn't the Pokemon Go people, I mean, myself included, look a little bit weird staring at our phones? I mean, it was pretty dangerous staring at our tiny little 4 to 6 inch phones. It will be so much safer when you're walking around with goggles on. Although, that being said, it sounds like one of the biggest criticisms of both the Magic Leap and the HoloLens is the field of view.
Oh, really? Is it mostly straight ahead?
It is mostly straight ahead. They said it's like looking through scuba diving, like a scuba diving mask, but
Hmm.
without the clear edges. Like you're just looking straight ahead. I've got the aspect ratio here. It says it's a 4:3 aspect ratio, so 40 degrees horizontal, 30 degrees vertical, 50 degrees diagonal. And
Okay.
here's actually a direct quote. AR naturally feels limiting in that you see everything else around you with unobstructed peripheral vision. So VR headset is blind to things. VR headsets are blind to things off like a windowless scuba mask. That was the HoloLens's problem, and it's the Magic Leap's one drawback too. And that was from CNET a couple of days ago. So, they describe it like looking through a windowless scuba mask. So it still could be dangerous. You're not going to have your peripheral vision, but it's a whole lot better than staring at your phone.
Yes, way better than staring at your phone. And I wonder if people are going to ban them. Like, I know the Google Glass was banned at a lot of places here. The Snapchat spectacles, a lot of people frown on it if you have them on and you're in line somewhere.
Did you ever see those? I haven't seen any Snapchat
Everywhere.
spectacles out
Yeah,
here.
people are wearing them everywhere down here.
Wow, still going? Like it wasn't just a fad for when did it come out in the fall last year?
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of a fad, but I still see it every once in a while too.
Interesting.
And now, speaking of fads, this new Pixel 3 is coming out. Have you seen any of the leaks?
How can you not see one of those leaks? That thing's leakier than the Titanic. That may be, it's not too soon to use that joke, but still, like, the leaks are everywhere. I must have seen 3 different videos, maybe 10 different pictures. The one that I remember seeing, the very first one, was funny because it was obviously Russian.
Hmm.
And it said Pixel 3, and then written in Russian Cyrillic, it phonetically spelled out Excel. And I was like, oh, it's the Pixel 3 XL. It was funny.
So apparently it's got a really small battery. Have you heard that too?
I remember somebody mentioning it. Is it less than 3200?
Yeah, it's supposed to be less than the old Pixel XL. So I'm not
Wow.
sure how they're planning on powering their 6.7-inch screen, right?
Yeah. The one thing that I really noticed about it is I'm big into aesthetics, and it's got a huge chin on it. It's got the notch, and the 3XL's got a bigger notch. Looks like it might have something similar to what Apple's got
Hmm.
with the face recognition and using points that certain cameras will fix on your face. But I don't know. It just looks big and clunky when you compare it to some of the phones coming out of China right now, as well as what Samsung's putting out.
Yeah, like those phones like Huawei that I like, right?
Yeah.
I looked it up and the battery's supposed to only be about 3,500 milliamps, so not very good.
To tell you the truth, that's not too bad because I believe that the Note 8 was even less than that. I believe it was around 3,200 just last year.
Oh, yeah. And Android P apparently has a new learning based battery optimization, so it might make the apps a little more efficient.
That's a great point. So maybe you'll still be able to get the same amount of time out of your new Pixel 3 XL. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Honestly, though, when it comes to a smartphone, I'm all about the battery. If the battery lasts less than 4 hours, I just struggle with it. I think all of us now are using our phones more often, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it didn't seem too long ago when we were getting our very first flip phones and just thinking they were neat. Well, now, if I misplace my phone, I'm lost.
Yeah, you're using Google Maps on it, you're Snapchatting, you're doing all of the things. It's tough without battery.
Yeah, my calendar, my contacts. I always say if you don't tell my wife or my phone, I don't know.
That's right. Now, the phone that you've got right now, you've got a Samsung, right?
Yeah, I have the S9 Plus, and I've had it for about 2 months now. And to be honest with you, I love it. I was really debating on getting the OnePlus 6, and it's it, it's a beautiful phone. It's a little bit smaller than the Samsung S9 Plus, but the S9 Plus just has that gorgeous screen.
Yeah, it's
It's
got that curve, right?
beautiful. Yeah, it's got that curve. My battery's been lasting really well, like really long. So I'm quite happy with it. The one thing I do miss is that dual SIM, but I just canceled one of my phone lines and I'm saving $60 a month.
Oh,
So
nice.
can't hate that.
Well, that's great. I really like that curved screen, and actually, I'm an iPhone user, and I wish that's one of the things I'm envious of Android is that we had the curved screen on the side. It looks really slick.
Yeah, well, there are new phones coming out this year for Apple as well. I don't think you're going to see a curved screen this year, but possibly for 2019.
So let's talk about the new Galaxy Note 9 release. Did you catch the price on that? It was pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, that seems to be the big tagline. I mean, it's a beautiful phone. It's got all kinds of great things about it, but everybody's talking about the price.
So I think it's like $1,000, which is about the same price as the iPhone 10. But I mean, typically Androids are usually a little bit cheaper, right?
They are, but you got to remember that these are flagship phones. So I think that Samsung priced this on purpose. I'd really like to know what kind of margin they're making on these phones. Does it cost them $1,000 to make it? Usually at the beginning of a product cycle, it costs them even more, so they actually sell it as a loss. And then as they work things out in the factory, they start making a little bit more money as the cycle of the phone moves on. So it's $1,000 for 128 gigabytes, which is pretty sweet, or 1,250 for 512.
Wow, that's a huge hard drive. Um, it's funny. This thing comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM too. That's almost as much as my new MacBook Pro has. And I spent
Yeah,
1,700 on it. So, it's crazy the technology that's coming out on it. The thing that I'm the most excited about is the 4,000 milliamp battery. That sounds like it's going to last a long time.
it is. It sounds like it. It's still got a honking screen on it, but so far the preliminary reviews they say that battery does make a difference. So that's good. I also like the fact that you can put a 512 gigabyte card into the phone. So if you buy the $1,250 Note 9 with the 512 gig, throw a 512 gig in, you've got a terabyte worth of information in your pocket. But I got a question for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Is that worth it?
It's a good question. And what I'm curious about for you, have you used a SIM card, not a SIM card, but a memory card in your phone before? Is it weird to install an app on it? Does it separate things out? Is it slower?
You know what? It depends on how you use it. So you can buy various speeds of SD cards
Hmm.
and micro SD cards. And so some of them for high performance digital SLRs, they're supposed to be very fast. And I've heard anecdotally that it's almost as if it's built right into your phone. The way I used my SD card in the past is I used it for memory.
I
So my
see.
photos, if I did video on my phone, movies that I was taking with me on the plane, things like that. So really, when it came to music, movies, and photos, it's fantastic. But
But
right
apps.
now, apps, I installed a few apps on it. I never noticed anything being slow.
Okay. Hey, that's great. That's something that I wish we had with our iPhones as well, right?
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about the Bluetooth pen that the Notes are famous? Well, they're famous for the pen. This year, it's Bluetooth. What do you think about it?
Honestly, I've never been a big pen fan because typically what I do on my phone, I can use just my fingers for it. Do you use the stylus a lot?
Well, I don't have a stylus on mine, but I remember back to the old Palm days, and it was like you couldn't live without that stylus.
Yeah.
It Those Palm phones had such small screens and big fat fingers, just couldn't click and do things very well. And so I think that the phones today are set up for fingers, whereas Palm originally set it up to use the stylus and utilizing the smaller screen space. Honestly, I don't think I'd use it much, although this new Bluetooth pen has some pretty neat tricks.
Now, is it more geared towards artists who, if they want to do like a drawing, the harder you press, the darker the line is? Or talk to me about it.
I believe it can do that. I don't have the stats in front of me for how many different types of pressures it will recognize. I know that's a big deal when it comes to these styluses. I'm not even sure if it's really for artists. I think it's more for quickly taking notes. I don't know if you've used OneNote before, but it's a Microsoft product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fantastic when you can just jot something down in OneNote and it will automatically recognize your handwriting. I mean, it's come a long ways from the old Palm days where you had to learn a shorthand for every letter and you had to practice it. Nowadays, you can just write on your phones, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to recognize your scribble, even in a rush. So people I've talked to that use the styluses, especially on the Note series, they really like it for the fact that you can just grab your phone, write something down, and then it's saved in your notes.
Oh, that's pretty nice. I'm kind of the type where I just want to start using Siri and not even touch my phone again. So I'm kind of on the opposite mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is going to voice recognition. So let's talk about that a little bit, Dan. Have you tried to set up a smart home or done anything along those lines?
You know, I've got a Nest coming to my house on Friday, which I'm really excited about. So the Nest is the temperature control that hooks into your Wi-Fi, and you can change the temperature no matter where you're at.
Yeah, I love my Nest. I have one as well. What model did you get?
I think it's the version 3. So it's the kind where you can look at it across the room and it'll turn on and you can see what the temperature is.
Yes, that's what mine is too. I think they've got another version that just came out that's a more affordable version than the 3. And it's got a different background and looks a little bit more like the Metro style that's popular in cell phones these days.
Oh, yeah.
But I love my Nest. It is fantastic.
Have you saved money with it too?
You know, that's a good question. Because Sharon's a stay-at-home mom and the kids are here or somebody's here during the day, I don't think I'm really saving a lot of money because my furnace is always on in the winter if somebody's here. What I do like is I can save money when we're away.
Mm-hmm.
I can turn things off and on when I'm away. I really like that. And it emails me updates and tells me how much money I saved. Whether I believe it or not, that's another question.
Well, and it sure looks cool doing it right. I mean, it's the start of getting the smart home. I'd love to have my garage door opener be on the smart home, my lights. It's going to be a work in progress.
You know, I just started setting up my house. So I have a Google Home. I think you remember when I had you buy it there in the States because I couldn't get it in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And it was last Christmas. And so my Google Home's a lot of fun. It does do wacky things every now and then where it thinks that I'm searching for things when I'm not. And to be honest with you, it's more of a party trick than being a lifesaver and making my life a lot better.
Right.
It settles a lot of arguments and debates while we're having dinner. You know?
Perfect.
Like, where is the largest pierogi in the world? It will tell you it's in Glendon, Alberta, and I highly recommend everybody go take a look at it.
All right, I'm there.
So the smart home, what I like is I've gotten some Wemo light switches that are also dimmers.
Oh, can you control it with your Google Voice?
I can, and I can say lights to 40%, and it turns them to 40%. I can set up schedules. I can say good night, and just by saying good night, it starts doing a good night routine where it will dim my lights for half an hour and then automatically turn them off. You can program it to do all kinds of neat things, and all of it voice activated.
You know, I heard they're actually going to make it so that it will speak while you're gone, so it sounds like somebody's there. You know, like an argument. There was even somebody talking about talking someone through how to put IKEA furniture together for hours on end. That way no one's going to come into your house, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, some Swedish accents coming out of the house. You put the farfenigen together by using this little Allen key.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to our next podcast. So we're going to try to do this every week, put something out for half an hour. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover, go ahead and shoot us an email at the link below.
Also, if you want to sponsor this podcast, we'd be more than happy to sell ourselves and our time and plug whatever it is you're selling.